Part of my mission is to help our paper makers to have a very good sensor correlation strategy. Therefore, we'll help them to have a very good program so they can save costs on raw material usage and energy consumption, to increase their profit. So that's part of my mission. In the paper making industry, that is a comparison between the online sensors and the offline lab. So when I talk about the online sensor, that's usually the sensors inside of a scanning platform. And the offline lab, we have a lot of standalone equipment in the quality control lab. So sensor correlation is about doing a comparison. When you have two watches, you don't know what the right time is, right? So typically we set one as a standard. Usually it's a lab. We make that our standard measurement, and then we correlate the online sensor measurement to match the lab measurement. So that's our goal, and that is sensor correlation. A lot of people confuse between these terms, and they are very different actually. Sensor calibration is a comparison between a known standard and the instrument that you are trying to calibrate. So for example, you measure your input, and then you control your output so that you have a repeatable and reliable measurement. You build that relationship between your known standard and your instrument that you're going to measure. It's really, in the paper making industry, this really has nothing to do with measuring a paper maker's property at this point. We're just building a relationship between the standard and the online sensors in this case. So for example, if we want to calibrate a caliper sensor, we just measure a set of standards, and you build that relationship between your caliper sensor, the thickness, and your standard. Once that relationship is created, you're done with calibration. Then after the sensor is calibrated, we use a set of, we call them check samples to perform monthly check samples. That's only to check the repeatability of this sensor. This is not correlation. With sensor correlation I talked about, that's to compare your online sensor with the offline quality control lab. That's the relationship for correlation. So you can see that they're different. A calibrated sensor doesn't mean it's a correlated sensor, right? When you have these online sensors, I talk about the difference between calibration and correlation. If the sensor is only calibrated, you're only there measuring repeatable measurement. It does not mean it has accuracy. It will have precision, but not accuracy. So it's going to take that sensor correlation process to make it measure more accurately. The environment changes, like you have the source decay, you have paper making, chemical changes. So that all affects this online measurements. So you need that sensor correlation program to help you to make sure your measurement is accurate. That's the key. So first of all, they have to have a standard. What are they going to follow? Usually we follow the TAPI standard. TAPI stands for Technical Association of the Pulp and Paper Industry. So they set the golden standard for sensor correlation. And for each paper mill, they have to look at what sensors they have, the locations of these sensors, and look at their process. They have to pick the sensor correlation method. So for example, okay, I want to test the moisture content of this piece of paper. I'm going to be using an oven. The oven has to be set at 105 degrees Celsius according to the TAPI standard, and then how much drying time it's going to take. The paper maker will have a standard operating procedure for each online sensor they're going to correlate.